On today's show, it's another Tribeca Spotlight. I'm talking with Marcel Ruiz, the star of a great new movie called Summer of Three. He's the lead actor, and he also co wrote the movie, which won multiple awards at the Tribeca Film Festival. It won Best Screenplay for a U.S. Narrative, and the main trio of the film collectively won an award for Best Performance. It's about a teenager who left Puerto Rico for LA when he was a boy, but now he returns home, but he doesn't really feel like home until he forms bonds with these two young people who really change his life. And there's a really complicated but uncomplicated and really sweet love triangle. It's R rated and has adult themes, but it's really good natured and sincere. And it's a beautiful look at Puerto Rico. He talks about the movie, about the process of working with Carlito Ruiz, who is the co-writer, director, and his dad. If Marcel's name sounds familiar, maybe you remember him as Alex from One Day at a Time. He told me about his audition and meeting Norman Lear and how he was always on set working on the show. Marcel's a really young guy, but if you've seen his work, you'll know he's tremendously talented and absolutely one to watch. That's enough from me. Let's get into it with Marcel Ruiz. And if you like, subscribe, leave a comment, all the YouTube stuff.
I literally just recently woke up, as I don't know if you could tell. And so
Oh,
I don't have
really?
much
I
time
look
to
like
get
this all
ready.
the time.
It's just like we went to sleep so late last night at like 3 in the morning. It was like our last screening, and we were just enjoying kind of like the full circle close to the our festival experience with the whole cast and crew, and yeah, so I'm taking today off for sure.
Well, let's start with that. Like, I know that the festival circuit is a huge part of the whole process. You know, it's not the end of the line,
Mm,
obviously, but
yeah.
you won awards. You got to show your movie in front of a crowded, room full of people. That's got to
Yeah.
be. Tell me about your victory lap last night, if it's not too NSFW.
No, it definitely means a lot. That's what I mean, you don't do it for the awards, like you do it for the audience. Like that's what you work on a film for like 3 years for. It's to be able to show it and like experience it in community, which is what's so great about the theater experience. It's so interesting. Like we made this movie kind of like not with festivals in mind. That would have, we were very open to it. It was like a cherry on top, but we made it for the audience. And if that's watching in the theater or from home around the world, both were valid, and that was our priority first. And so to get the opportunity to after working on it for so long to experience it like 3 times this week with different audiences, all of them amazing and super engaged. And we were even like in this last screening that we did yesterday, we were like, oh my God, is this audience gonna be better than the premiere? Like all of them were so unique in their own sense and were so engaged with the story. And sometimes I'd be like in between watching the screen or more entertained by watching the faces of the people around me. And that's the biggest award like ever. Just getting into Tribeca and being able to share it. That's definitely just a dream come true. And it's my first festival experience. Like I've been acting my whole life, but I had never gone to one of the major festivals. So for it to be like my first time with a project of mine, um, I'm so grateful for it. And yeah, I mean, the awards last night, it was so funny because it was like, oh, there was an open bar, the whole crew, the whole cast was there, and we were not like, I was telling people to lock in because we were just like laughing and having like a laugh attack the whole time. I think out of like a nerve-wracking experience because we were like, wait, we're not prepared to win. If we win, we really have to go up and we're like dressed like this and we're laughing. So I think that's what was happening. And so we didn't even hear when we like won. But for it to be for our screenplay and for the performances means a lot because it is a trio of a movie, and the two awards we won were trios. Like our screenplay was written by three writers, and our ensemble cast was three, and so that meant a lot to be able to share it that way. Yeah,
And you're part of both. It's not just a movie that you're participating in. Not that, an actor is lesser, but it's like you're in it and you co-wrote it.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Um, when you were brought, like, were you there at the very beginning, or when you were brought on board to it, did you get to shape your character? Tell me about writing in addition to acting.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, I made this movie with my dad, like in full collaboration. And so yeah, I've been acting my whole life thanks to that as well, in a sense of being raised on a set. Like every conversation and experience at home growing up was around the arts and cinema. Um, and so because that line was always blurred between like home life and work life, like it was very like normal and natural for me to collaborate with my parents in any way, even though we had never done something officially. And so there's even like an interview that I saw the other day that came out when I was 15 and I had forgotten. The title was like, he dreams of making movies with his parents. So like this is something that I've wanted to do for a while for sure. I just either didn't have the tools yet to write a screenplay or, the opportunity for the right story. And 3 years ago, my dad and I were like developing different ideas and writing different scripts. And then an opportunity came to make a movie in Puerto Rico. And I think immediately we were like, we want to represent like what it's that feeling of what it's like to be young on the island and grow up on the island in a summer in Puerto Rico because it's so unique, nostalgic, specific, and it's what people around the world right now with Puerto Rico are like drawn to. And I've experienced it myself on both sides, having grown up on the island and also being like a part of the diaspora of Puerto Ricans. Um, it's very specific when you leave, coming back and not wanting to leave as well after you come back. And so that's basically the idea. And yeah, long story short, thanks to that, I was able to be a part of every step of the process from the beginning. Like the story, my dad and I kind of developed little by little, and then we brought on Mariana Belaval, who is a young writer as well, my age, and we were able to get all these perspectives from different generations, from someone that stayed in Puerto Rico like Mariana, and then someone like me that had both experiences of living in Puerto Rico and living in the States. And so that balance really created this like universal experience that people could like kind of see themselves and relate to these characters, whether they are from my generation, my dad's generation, or from Puerto Rico, or left Puerto Rico. And and yeah, so um I think my connection to the project is as a writer first. And we always knew that I was gonna be a part of the acting as well, because it was a young character that a lot of inspiration I took from my personal life as well. But really, the whole process, which started with the writing, stayed with me throughout and made me fall in love with the story even more. And just, it wasn't about picking credits, but it was just about submerging myself the whole way up until now.
Uh, yeah, I definitely got the sense while watching it that it's part like travelogue. You get to see parts of the island that maybe aren't always shown in the movies or on
Mm,
Wild on E. uh I think you're too young to remember that show. But it was like a
definitely,
travelogue party
definitely.
show.
Okay. I would love to watch it. It sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was like Tara Reid used to host it.
Okay, 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 okay.
But but you get to see that, but you also see the different generations perspective within the movie. I wish I had watched it with my mom, who's in the
Oh,
other room. We're Honduran,
okay.
so not Puerto Rican, but definitely Latin American.
Yeah.
Um, with the not to get too political or anything,
Hmm.
but there's just this terrible othering of Latin people and where they come from, even if it is part of the United States. Not naming names. Anyone could be doing it. Maybe
Hmm.
it's not also the president. But
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about, the responsibility of showing all sides of Puerto Rico and kind of saying to the audience, it's a place like any other place, but also it's magical in this way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a beautiful question because it's like we were trying to put the audience in the shoes of the characters. I think it's more an intimate portrait than anything of Puerto Rican youth. And because of that, specifically Javi's point of view, there's a lot of things that are disorienting in the story, and there's a lot of things that kind of um, are left for interpretation because when you are going through an experience like this, like someone like Javi, he is getting to know his family. He doesn't know everything. He is getting to know these characters. So what you see on the screen is mostly what he's experiencing. And so I think the same goes with the political climate and history of Puerto Rico as a colony of the US, which is my generation right now is growing up more aware for sure. And each generation is growing more aware of their background and their identity as Puerto Rico as a part of the US, but it's intertwined into everyday life. And I love that even though it's not like that's what the story about and we don't go deep into that, it is a part of everyday Puerto Rican life. And sometimes it happens in very subtle ways, as you might see in the film. And yeah, I'm very proud of that because I feel like the Puerto Rican identity is also a revolutionary identity. Like what makes us feel different and special and even more united comes from a background of, like you said, like otherness and of, yeah, like in a way not feeling free. And from the beginning, we were trying to make the character of, not trying to make it, but like I think something that was beautiful about the character of Kiki is that it was like a metaphor to me as I was writing up. It was a metaphor for the island of Puerto Rico. Like Kiki was this like free soul that understood that there was a lot of love on the island and there was also a lot of pain, and that there's this kind of um like dilemma of wanting to leave and experience other things, but not wanting to leave the island behind and not wanting to, also wanting to stay. Because I think that's what every Puerto Rican wishes for. And so, yeah, I feel like she represents this like free spirit that the island of Puerto Rico is, which only grows stronger sometimes from oppression. Um, and so, yeah, I think I'm very passionate about that. Um, you know, I grew up around a family that instilled that in me very young. My mom is a documentary filmmaker, and one of her first works was documenting the U.S. Navy's um, kind of like presence in Vieques in 2001, where they, bombed the island for years and used it as like a practice ground. And so growing up and seeing that and being very aware of that, I'm very proud to show that as part of our identity, and it's what makes us us, and it's what, you know, makes other artists from the island, whether it's movies or music, like someone like Bad Bunny, wanting to include that more in our art because I think it's special and it unites us. And what's beautiful is that, like you said, no matter if you're Puerto Rican or not, it has united a lot of Latin Americans around the world. And I felt that with the screenings this week. Like people were going up to me and they're like, I'm from Trinidad, I'm from El Salvador, I'm from Dominica, and they still felt like, okay, I've never been to Puerto Rico, but I know that. Like that's me, that's my family, that's my country. And so that surprised me a lot, and that, yeah, that meant a lot for sure.
That's great. That kind of leads into my next question. You mentioned, seeing it with an audience and watching the audience. Did you notice, like, something the movie does so well is that it brings you into its world?
Hmm.
Um, a lot of movies, documentary style, it's like you're watching it through glass. Like there's a separation between the viewer and the world of the film.
Mm.
And this, it feels like it drags you in a great part due to your character, um, being the point of view. It's like the audience is right there with you at all times. So there's not that partition.
Mm.
Um, so when you're watching the movie and do you see a difference in reaction from the Latino viewers versus the non-Latino viewers, or do you think that they are are being brought in the same way as anyone else would?
For sure, I think it's like, using the same example of music is like someone like Bad Bunny, let's say. Like people from around the world, whether they speak Spanish or English, love his music. But if you're Latino, you're gonna have a different perspective to his music that maybe others won't be able to kind of attach to. And then if we go like a level like further, if you're Puerto Rican, you're gonna get like references and Easter eggs and slang that no one else from around the world will understand. And so the experience is definitely for Summer of Three is very universal and it's been beautiful and unexpected that everyone has connected with it, like no matter their background, whether, they speak Spanish or not. But yes, the experience can be like a different for each person depending on that. And it can go further into, yeah, there's things we talk about that are very, very specific and a niche to only Puerto Ricans. And then there's others that are, relatable to any Latin American. And then on top of that, yeah, there's universal themes of love, friendship, loss, family, like that anyone can relate to whether they know Puerto Rico or not. And yeah, to answer that question as well, like it has been, looking at people in the audience, like I have started to expect like, oh, okay, I know this type of person is gonna laugh at this joke coming up or this reference, but then it's beautiful to see, you know, people that have never been to Puerto Rico know nothing about the story, don't speak Spanish, like a lot of friends from mine from the US that have sometimes connected with it, and surprisingly, sometimes even more than like some of my friends from the island. And I think we try to do a good job of like the translation, so you feel like you get the same sense or experience as if like you understood the language, because it's like very fast paced and we like say a lot of profanity as like my generation does on the island. Um, so yeah, that was definitely like the plan. Like we should never, I mean, it's very important. Representation is very important, but I never want to the art I want to make, I never want it to be exclusive to a certain group of people. Like I think I want to bring in as many people as possible to experience this film, and that's what's beautiful about this, right? It's like it happens to be a Puerto Rican film, but we want it to be a good movie first in general.
Um, yeah, and you succeeded. I mean, as a young actor who then you're working on this movie that you're co-writing. Um, you know, you said you always wanted to do more. Tell me about like your earliest experience. Is this your first like writing exercise? Like how have you like practiced yourself
Mm.
to make this movie?
Yeah. Look, I've loved writing since I was little. Like I don't know what it was, like I had this connection to it. And And so I always knew like naturally in the world I grew up in, like screenwriting was gonna be something that I wanted to work on eventually. But I hadn't studied it and I hadn't really practiced it. And what screenwriting is, it's really like the hardest part of it for like a feature length screenplay, more than the formula or anything, is the discipline of like going back every day, kind of like a sculpture until you finish it. Like it's really the length more than anything. Whereas with a short film, like you really do only have like 12 pages, but the most difficult part of that is fitting everything in those 12 pages. And so I got to take a step back from writing after the pandemic, from acting after the pandemic, and I went to Columbia University to study writing, business, and film. And I really fell in love with the writing program and went deep into creative writing as well as screenwriting. and I saw how both were kind of um like informing each other and influencing my work. And so I in my third year of college is when I started writing this script. And I was also taking 6 classes at the same time at Columbia, and 4 out of those were writing classes. So I was like, okay, I feel ready. Like I don't feel anymore like I want like I want to write. I felt for the first time like I could call myself a writer. And so I thought it was like perfect timing. And so yeah, I had written a lot in the past, nothing that was ever made or published. Um and I had written a lot of short films as well, but this is the first like feature-length screenplay.
You know, a lot of people might only know you from One Day at a Time,
Mm.
which was, shepherded in part by, the great one, Norman Lear. Maybe you were too young at the time, but like, did you ever get the opportunity to like pick his brain or just ask him questions?
Oh my God. It's so funny because like he was there every day, which is insane. Like no matter what, I remember him being there from like the second time I auditioned, like in the room to our first table read, and then every taping from then on. And
Uh,
um at these tapings, it's like we're doing it in front of a live audience, and he would warm up the crowd, which is crazy. So I definitely feel and I'm so grateful that I got to spend so much time with him. There was definitely not a shortage of that, but I think for sure I was too young to pick his brain, to even think about like wanting to pick his brain. But I think it's sweet that our relationship was like natural and it was more like family than anything. I considered him a grandpa to me at the time. And I remember the first time I auditioned for it, when I come out of the room, my parents were like, okay, who was in there? And I was like, yeah, like I think it was like a couple of the showrunners, like maybe some producers, and then this old guy with a hat. And my parents are like, that was Norman Lear. And I didn't know who he was. And we went home and they had like a book, like his like biography signed by him. And so I got to know him as well through what my parents told me, which was the same thing that occurred when I met Rita Moreno on set. Um, but I'm grateful for that. Me and my on-screen sister is Isabella Gomez. We've always been grateful that our connection with them and how we met them was as family first and not really knowing much of their careers. But through our experience working with them, it was obvious, the impact that they had and the energy that they would bring to set, no matter if we knew or not. So yeah, I'm so grateful that I got to spend so much time with him, and he actually wrote my recommendation letter for college.
oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Um, so let's go back to the set. Speaking of like the intersection of family and work,
yeah,
you're being directed by your dad.
yeah.
um, I don't even know where to start with that. Do you turn off the family connection as soon as you're on set? Are you like, please, I'm not your son today. We're working. I'm your actor. And during like kissing scenes, or you're like, come on, dad, I know how to do this. What's that dynamic like?
The kissing scenes are always such a like example that we use because he would leave the set and he wouldn't wear headphones. Like, so he was not hearing anything that was going on. And I think he wasn't even looking at the monitor.
I don't want to know. I don't want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But in general, I don't know. It's like this balance because it's like all my first commercials that I ever did when I was like 3 and like up to 6 years old were directed by him and my mom. Whenever they needed like a little kid for a commercial they were shooting in Puerto Rico, I'd audition for it and sometimes I get it. And so it's been, yeah, like it's weird. Like I know from an outside perspective, it's like, yeah, like you're working on a set with your parents, but like that's been my norm since I was growing up. So I was actually very, it's my comfort zone in a way, like having them on set. Like I was really emotional after Summer of Three because I realized even if we were working or not together, the a show I just did called The Body that's coming out later in the year, it was my first time being on a set alone without my parents. And I only realized that like after we wrapped, and it made me really emotional because they've been there every step of the way, whether it's been like guiding me into this world or just being there as parents and supporting me on the sidelines. So so yeah, it's something that's very familiar and it's unique and it's special and for sure sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's like I want to go home and just talk to you as a dad and not have to like talk about work. And these past 3 years, like our relationship has very much been around work. So I think we're also very excited to take a break from that and go back to just an exclusive like father-son relationship. But it's also something we've been working towards for a while. So to share this together, like my dad always tells the story of like his debut film premiered at Tribeca. I was 3 years old at the time, running through the hallways of the theaters, and now his second film coming back 19 years later is one that we did together. So to be able to share that with him is something that we'll always remember. And yeah, on this set, especially because I think if it was me just as an actor, I think it'd be a little weirder. But because we were so submerged into the story and the project from the start, it was very intimate. And it was like, we talked about every step of the process before even being on set for months and months. So I think we could even read each other's minds to the point that when we got on set, there wasn't a lot to adjust and he was giving me a freedom to just act and bring my own intuition into the character and the work. And yeah, at the end of the day, he's my dad. He's also my friend. And and yeah, the production, the filming of it was very relaxed. Like filming is can be very stressful and things go wrong every day. And luckily, it was a shoot that was only in 18 days, but it felt like we didn't feel rushed. So yeah, I think it comes from this family dynamic that we brought onto the set and that was contagious and reflected onto everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, some families have, home videos and stuff. This is kind of on a whole other level.
They do also have that. They literally have my birth on video and I was traumatized when I watched that at like 11 years old.
Oh yeah. So you're a young guy. You're a young person. You're 22. You just
Yeah.
graduated from college. You've got this incredible movie that you co-wrote under your belt. Like, where do you see the next? Not that you're applying for a job here, but where do you see like the next 5 years? Like, would you like to write something else? Would you like to be a leading man in like a big old Hollywood picture? Would you like to try directing? Would you like to do something outside of filmmaking? What the world is your oyster. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, since I was little and people like would call me like an actor, I always have said this story of like growing up, I didn't like that term. I didn't want to be an actor. I actually didn't enjoy it much because it felt like as much as it came natural and it was a part of my identity, I felt like why can't I relate to these other actors who like chose to do this and are so passionate about this and moved to LA to do this? Like I couldn't relate to that. And I was like, what is there something wrong with me? Like that I that I'm not forcing my parents to put me in acting classes and go to theater school. And so I've enjoyed it as a hobby, just like as any other kid maybe goes to like basketball practice after school. But it wasn't up until 2 years ago with this project that it made me fall in love with acting again. Because through writing, I realized how many similarities it has with the job of an actor and how I could bring that same writer's mentality to any other work, whether I am a writer or not. And so that has made the process so much more fun. And it's made me actually understand what it's like to care and to be deep into someone else's world. And yeah, taking it to those limits is an amazing feeling that I hadn't experienced before as a child actor. And maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Like a child actor maybe doesn't need to experience those things yet. that comes with life and with years of living like I did from just taking a break from this world, but also from the roles that you get as a young adult and on in your life. So definitely I'm at this point that's very special because it feels like a new beginning, and I'm getting to act as well in projects that I've dreamed about being a part of that represent, I feel like, what it's like to be young, which is like something I want to always do in my work. And it represents extreme characters where I'm getting to do things that are coming of age drama. I'm getting to do things that are darker and funny, and I think I just want to check off these boxes of like bucket lists, really. That I don't really have like a certain goal or thing I want to do. I just want to really enjoy the moment, go with the flow, and follow the fun, really, more than anything, and challenge myself. It's like whatever is new, whatever I haven't done before, I'm gonna be drawn to that. And I'm really enjoying all these opportunities that are coming in. And yeah, once I get a little break soon, I definitely want to write something new. Because I think that's how this new emotion and connection with acting started. And yeah, I definitely have a lot of ideas, and I know it takes a lot of time and work. So I want to get to that soon for sure, writing something else.